Here with me now, Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr and financial analyst Heather Zumaraga. Both of you, thank you for joining me. We'll start with you, Congressman. Senator Tom Cotton introduced a bill that says we need to hold China responsible for this, offer up an idea that people could sue China over this. Your thoughts?
Senator Cotton is absolutely right on this. China lied from the very beginning about this. The China virus has origins right there in Wuhan, and I think it's very good that the U.S. intelligence community is now investigating the Wuhan Institute of Virology. We don't have all the evidence in, but we certainly need to investigate it. The American people deserve answers. The American people were put at risk by the People's Republic of China. People all over the world were put at risk as a result of their cover-up and their lies and their collaboration with the World Health Organization to deceive the world about the human-to-human transmission, and also the fact that they underreported their cases. They're now revising their cases up. So all of these factors go into the fact that we need to investigate. I introduced a bill yesterday to create a joint select committee to investigate the origins and also China's handling of it. And what was so sinister about all of this is that after this became a global pandemic, Grant, China manipulated and weaponized the global supply chain of critical pharmaceuticals and also personal protective equipment. China put all of us at risk, and they need to be held accountable.
Congressman, I'll tell you from personal experience, for the last 2 to 3 weeks, one of my companies has been working tirelessly to source medical supplies from China to get in the hands of hospitals here in the United States. Overnight, those prices not just double, not just triple, they quadruple. When they tell us we have a deal, they pull it back. You can't get supplies here. It is very, very difficult unless you're a bag man and you got a suitcase filled with cash. That's the only thing they will listen to in China. They are exploiting this, Heather Zumaraga, and we all should be outraged over it.
Yeah, we should be outraged over it. Loud and clear. I hear you, Grant, as well as a congressman. Look, there are large stockpiles right now of U.S. critical supplies sitting in warehouses. And the reason is because of these export restrictions that China has recently banned any export of critical supplies. You have to go through a long process of waivers and licenses. For example, Perkin-Elmer, which is a company based in Massachusetts, is unable to ship 1.4 million test kits, again, it's a U.S. company, from China to the U.S. because they're held up due to license agreements. And 3M, which is a Minnesota-based company, has been able to receive some shipments of N95 masks, but for the most part right now, they're hoarding them in Shanghai. So the N95 masks are being supplied to China, but not in the U.S. So there will be blame, I'm sure, finger pointing when this is over everywhere. But I think first and foremost, China will be looked at very hard.
Well, look, as a former investigative reporter, what I like to do is break down the facts. It is undeniable and indisputable that China lied to us about their knowledge of human-to-human transmission. And I was vilified months ago simply for saying, I want to get to the bottom of where this thing originated. Did it originate from the lab? Did it originate from the wet market? We're simply asking questions. They call it conspiracy theories. Give me a break. Congressman Barr, why is the media so eager to protect China? At the same time, they give talking points of the Chinese government to the American people.
Well, I think their hatred for the president is what's motivating a lot of the people in the media when we should be coming together as a country, not politicizing this issue, but coming together as a country and being patriots and focusing on the real culprit here, and that is China. And so I have called for a bipartisan joint select committee to investigate the origins and China's handling of this, also their collaboration with the World Health Organization to cover up and conceal what China did in this case. China lied. China needs to be held accountable. We have a number of tools with which we can hold China accountable. They're fiscal tools, they're trade tools, they're sanctions tools. But look, when this is all said and done, because of the government-imposed shutdown of our economy as a result of the virus, We're talking about $5 trillion that will be added to U.S. national debt. I think we need to be reimbursed. The American taxpayers need to be reimbursed for this international crime that has been committed against not just the United States, but the whole world.
So I agree with you 100%. China has to pay. The question is, Heather, how do we get them to pay? I know they've got money here in the United States. We can hold that against them. There's places to go to the World Trade Organization, get them to sanction them. But in the end, if you sue China and you're a family member, and if that bill goes through, how do we actually collect from this nation?
Well, look, I think something that I was reporting on for a year and a half is you go back to the trade war, and this was one of the reasons, of the many reasons why we imposed tariffs in the first place. I would just call it a trade dispute. We are calling for more fair trade practices. They subsidize things like goods like aluminum and steel on U.S. soil for years. They're shipping illegal fentanyl illegally and deadly drugs to Americans. And this is just something else, the fact that the U.S. companies have their supply chains over there. So first and foremost, I think the tariffs will get wide support. And second, I would expect an executive order banning any offshoring of critical supplies like the PPE equipment and all of our drugs. 90% of active ingredients and our pharmaceutical drugs come from China. That can't happen. So I expect wide support of the tariffs and an executive ban on having so much of our active ingredients and our pharmaceutical drugs being sourced in China right now.